Welcome to the Honest Healing Podcast, real talk for cycle breakers. I'm your host, Katie Delamon. If you're ready to speak up, set boundaries, heal your nervous system, and build better relationships, you're in the right place. Because you don't need to be perfect to heal. You just need to be honest. Let's go. Welcome to episode 21 of the Honest Healing Podcast, Holiday Boundaries. It starts with you. In today's episode, I'm going to go over why holiday boundaries are really always about yourself, not necessarily with other people. I will give you a few ways on comments on how you can respond in a more emotionally intelligent way to things that make you feel uncomfortable. But I want you to know and always remember that the strongest and most important boundaries are always going to be your own internal boundaries. I hope this episode empowers you to be more curious about your own internal boundaries. This is a short episode, but let's get right into it. Everybody thinks that holiday boundaries are about telling your parents no or avoiding Uncle Joe's political rants or taking time off. But here's the truth. What most people don't want to hear, that holiday boundaries aren't about doing less, avoiding or ignoring. It's about doing things differently. I just did a presentation for a corporate client about how to switch off and have a resting mindset for 2026. Switching off is not about doing less, it's about doing things differently. So instead of faster, we go slower. Instead of trying harder, we try softer. Instead of trying to speak our truth, what I, get on my soapbox about, it's about listening more. And instead about trying to do more, it's really about being more. And no one wants to talk about this, but the most important holiday boundary you have is not with other people, it's with yourself. So before you set a boundary with someone else, especially during the holiday season, you want to have a conversation with yourself and ask yourself, where am I saying yes out of obligation? Because that's my responsibility to speak authentically and to say how I really feel in those moments, at those times, or come back at a later time and actually express how I really feel instead of saying yes when I want to say no because I feel obligated or I'm afraid of letting somebody down or maybe offending somebody or hurting somebody's feelings. Where am I eating, drinking, or stretching myself in ways that makes me feel like crap? This is a huge one during the holiday season. We say yes to the alcohol because it is offered. We say yes to the crappy food because it's there or it's offered. So again, this doesn't go back to blaming the holidays and all these, different scenarios that make our boundaries hard. It's about understanding why you can't keep your own word to yourself. Where are you abandoning yourself and then blaming everyone or everything else for how you feel? People think boundaries mean ignoring, withdrawing, avoiding, cutting off, and saying no loudly. But true boundaries, emotionally mature boundaries, means choosing things differently. It's about not shutting down, not numbing out, not disappearing, but responding from alignment rather than reactivity, or responding instead of reacting, what we simply say in mindfulness. Holiday boundaries are a shift in pace, presence, and your own personal responsibility. So like I said before, instead of going faster, go slower. Instead of trying harder, try softer. Instead of trying to talk your way out of it, listen. Instead of doing more, be more. This is how you switch off from escaping your own life. Internal boundaries are where the real work begins. And here's the part that might sting. People don't suck. You just don't have good boundaries. I'm going to say it again for those in the back who can't hear me. People don't suck. You just don't have good boundaries. People don't drain you. You lack internal boundaries. You teach people how to treat you by what you allow, by what you stop, and by what you reinforce. I'm not talking about horrific acts of violence or trauma that is completely random. Please do not distort what I'm saying here. This doesn't mean you're responsible for horrific acts of violence or trauma that is random. Let me be crystal clear about that. Life has uncertainty, and there are tragedies that have nothing to do with our boundaries, okay? But in everyday relationships where I see 99.9% of people struggling physically, mentally, really emotionally, and spiritually, yes, your behavior, your standards, and your self respect sets the tone. You thought this episode was going to be about how to handle your parents at Christmas or how to avoid Uncle Joe's political rant at the dinner table. But before we talk about them, we need to talk about you. And I love that saying is when you point the finger at somebody, you've got three pointing right back at you. So I want to talk about noticing your triggers. Why does it bother you so much? Whatever that person said, or whatever that person does, or whatever that person believes. Doesn't mean you have to agree with it. Doesn't mean you have to entertain it. But try to ask yourself, dig a little bit deeper. Why does it bother me so much? What does that moment itself trigger inside of you? Like, start to understand, where are you feeling this stress and tension? Is it in your jaw? Is it in your hands? Is it in your feet? Is it in your hips? Like, really understanding these areas of your body where you're holding tension, where they're triggering you. And then what wound is being pressed on? Because it's just pressing a wound. That's all it's doing. And then what expectations are you secretly carrying? Maybe about this person, maybe about your relationship to this person, maybe about how the way Christmas is supposed to be in your adult life. And what story are you replaying from childhood that you keep hoping will end differently? You know, these are all beautiful questions. A beautiful life really starts with beautiful questions, reflective questions. Now, holiday triggers are not inconveniences, they're teachers, they're revealers. Every trigger is an invitation to go inward. Every irritation is a mirror. And every moment you want to control somebody else is a moment your nervous system is asking for safety, clarity, and truth. Boundaries don't start with conversations. They start with self-awareness. And I've said it in a podcast before, but there is that very alarming statistic that 95% of people think they're self-aware, but really only 10 to 15% of people are. Now, you have a choice on what percentage you want to be in, but really, truly being self-aware, not super aware, not hypervigilant, to actually be self-aware is one of the hardest things in the world. That's why only 10 to 15% of people are, because it requires a lot of emotional regulation and understanding. And that does require time, energy, and even money, spending money on courses, on books, on mentors, on body workers. Like, you can't do this by yourself. The truth is the truth. You cannot heal by yourself. It happens in the presence of others and with other people. Boundaries and self-awareness, true self-awareness, emotional maturity, is when you stop waiting for other people to behave better so that you can feel okay. You start behaving in ways that make you feel okay, no matter what they do. That's the true power. You take your power back. Most people are waiting for other people to change. Oh, well, they disrespected my boundary. I'm not going to go into this episode, but that is not a boundary. A boundary is when you change your behavior and you say, if this happens again, this is what I'm going to do differently. And then when it happens, if it happens again, you following through with that new behavior. That's another part that people really like to skip out on is the, you can call it consequences. I don't love that word, but it's about following through on your own word. So when you follow through, with something that you say you're going to do, you send these safety signals to your nervous system saying that, yes, our word matters, my voice matters, my life matters, and that we are safe. When you say you're going to do something and you don't do it, you send distress signals to your body. Unconsciously, you don't necessarily, quote unquote, feel it, but your body's going to remember that. And here are just a few more reflective questions for holiday boundaries. Ask yourself, where am I abandoning myself? Where am I overgiving, overeating, over-explaining, overscheduling? What standard am I lowering to keep peace for others? Like false peace becomes resentment. Where are you doing things that you don't really want to do, but you're doing it out of obligation and fear? It's not coming from a place of love. And then last, but certainly not least, where am I expecting someone else to change instead of changing my response? Now, this again doesn't excuse poor behavior or abuse. Again, do not distort what I'm saying. This is not about excusing somebody else's poor behavior, but it's about you having that courage, the confidence, what I teach people, to speak up for yourself, regardless of how that person is going to respond. And if they do respond in a very maybe aggressive, unkind, mean manner, you don't take it personally. What you see, emotionally mature people don't hate people because when they get upset, these people, all we see are these hurt little children inside of them that are like, having a little tantrum. I don't actually see adults who get aggressive and mean and angry as scary adults. I see them as hurt little kids. There's something inside of me where I don't get scared anymore like I used to when I was little. I go, oh, they're in a lot of pain. That's my response now, but it has taken me a long time to get there, and it wasn't easy and it wasn't fast. Now, you probably are wondering about some examples of external boundaries. And I want you to just remember that those internal boundaries are the most important first. But when you decide to have conversations that matter or comments to say, you can say something like, I won't be discussing politics today. Or, I'm taking a break from heavy conversations. Let's just keep this light. Or, I'm heading home and my body says I've had enough. That could be an internal boundary, not necessarily external. Or you can say, yes, I'm happy to come at 12 o'clock, but we are leaving at 3. So also having that courage to announce your own internal boundaries if it's necessary. So when 3 o'clock comes and you're packing up, you don't have people that are potentially going to, get really upset, and then you're not going to feel strong enough to keep that boundary. So it's also about letting the people around you know what they are as well, so they know what to expect and their nervous system doesn't go into that stressful state when they're caught off guard. Now, again, this is not about protecting other people, but it's learning how to regulate your own emotions and how to speak up for yourself and really own your life and your decisions and how you live your own life, really, essentially. Another thing you can say is, I'm choosing not to drink tonight, or no, thank you. You don't have to drink just because it's offered. You don't have that piece of pie just because it's offered. You don't have to have that gluten-free dessert that person made you specifically, but now you feel guilty because you're the only gluten-free one and you feel like you have to eat it. You do not have to eat it. And it sounds super silly, but it's about choosing yourself first. That person, and they probably made it without asking you, like, hey, do you want me to make you a gluten-free pie? If that were the case and you said yes, then well, that's on you because you said you wanted it. But if they never asked you and they went ahead and made this special meal because you have this special diet requirement, you do not have to eat it. Okay? I don't care who they are to you. I don't care if it was the Pope or the Queen or the King or the President. I don't know. You do not have to do anything out of obligation. Another thing you can say is, I love you and I'm not available for that tone. I mean, these responses are hard to probably come up with in the moment, but maybe think about, you can use ChatGPT about what potentially might come up and how you want to better respond, and then maybe have a few lines. The best one I can remember from the boundaries episode when I had Bree on was, that doesn't work for me. It's a very simple, easy go-to response to something that doesn't work for you, because you tell that person it's not about you, it's about me, and it doesn't work. It's short, it's calm, it's direct, and there's no defensiveness. Boundaries aren't walls, they are doors with informed choices. And remember, it's not about controlling anyone else, it's about choosing the version of you who shows up. So if you want this holiday season to feel calmer, clearer, and more grounded, it starts inside your nervous system, not in a group chat, not in your mother's expectations, not in your partner's reactions. It starts with the boundaries you make within yourself. And if you want support with this, this is exactly what I do in my one-to-one coaching container, but I'm actually creating a 90-day boundary reset program for the new year in 2026. It's going to be a group coaching model, and I'm super excited to start chatting more about it. But till next time, happy holidays, and remember, boundaries are not about controlling anybody else. It's about choosing the version of you who shows up. Thanks for listening to the Honest Healing Podcast. In 2026, I'm going to be rebranding the podcast, so watch out for that. It's only in a few weeks. In the meantime, if you do want to check out my book and read about my wild ride from mindlessness to mindfulness, my best-selling memoir, Trust the Flames, check it out anywhere they sell books. Amazon is always the quickest and cheapest. If you want to jump on my website, www.katiedelamon.com, you can book in a free one-to-one strategy call if maybe this type of work is something you want to get into, or check me out on any social media handle, Katie Delamon. Till next time.